Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And guys, it's 2023. Got these Oscar nominated films. I'm so excited to talk about them. This one right here, we are talking about Tar with I forgot her name that quick. Oh my goodness gracious. Kate Blanchett. My goodness gracious. I just slipped my mind. But yes, the Oscar nominated film Tar with Miss Kate Blanchett. I got my girl Kimberly right here, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, wonderful. I've missed you. I've missed you all.
Yes. We missed you too. It's when's the last time you been here? Was it the
Black
Black Adam
Panther.
or Black Panther? That's right. Back right in
Yeah.
November. That's what's up. That's what's up. You need to come through more often. You're
I
welcome
know.
anytime you want. But
Look,
you
I've
look
been in
great.
the lab with a pen and a pad, man, like I'm underground, I'm working on some things.
I love it. I love it. I'm waiting for those announcements. I can't wait to hear them. So no, thank you for being here, Kim. I really do appreciate it. You look great. And yeah, I mean, a million thanks to you. But guys, if you don't know, of course, I'm B. Avery. And of course, this is Miss Kimberly Currin from Southern California. If you love what we both have to say today in this Oscar nominated spoiler field review for Tar, you can follow both of us on social media. Our handles are on the screen. Her information is in the description box of this video. And like always, you can just head on over to my channel tab. She is right there on that second row. This is also what our YouTube channel looks like. So follow her on YouTube, follow her on Instagram, all that good stuff. Let's get those numbers up. And of course, like I said, what brings us here today is we're going to be reviewing Tar. This is going to be spoiler filled. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, I strongly suggest you turn away now. But the film did come out last year, October of 2022. And yeah, it's been nominated for a lot of awards. And not only am we going to be covering Tar either just by myself with Kim or just some other colleagues that I know, I'm going to be covering as many of the Oscar nominated films as possible. So if that's your thing, join in, subscribe, share the videos, check out all of the reviews. We would really appreciate over here at Just My Opinion Reviews. And I believe the Oscar takes place on March the 12th, that Sunday of this year. And so by that time, I will be having a movie news roundup show. Yeah, the 12th, March 12th. On March 13th, that Monday, at 6 p.m. CST. So if you want to come and join me, and maybe I have some guests popping up, who knows, to talk about all of the Oscar wins, losses, snubs, because there is some, and I'll be talking about that in another video. Come on over and join all the fun. But like I said, Kim, we got Tar right
Yes,
here. I
yes.
remember I got the email to go see this early last year. It's being directed by Mr. Todd Field. I'm
Mhm.
not too familiar if anybody out there knows his work, but if we scroll down and look at his filmography right here, this is just some of his things that he's done in the past. Let us know if you've seen any of these. But
You
when
know
I got
what?
that, go ahead, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I just had to say, because the last film he did was 16 years ago.
Really?
But his face, as soon as I saw him, I was like, dude from Twister. He was in Twister. He's in one of my favorite films, which is Twister, with Helen Hunt. But as a
Okay,
director, he's really wonderful, and as a writer,
gotcha,
he's really wonderful.
gotcha.
But
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, he's a dude from Twister.
little children. I haven't seen that one. That was a while ago. So y'all let us know if you've seen that. What with also this being with Kate Blanchett, they were together in 1999 as well for Eyes Wide Shut. He had an acting role in this, and she had a voiceover role, but they didn't end up even meeting until years later. And so, now they're being nominated for an Oscar, and not just one Oscar. Look, they got this movie has 6 nominations. It's nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actress, of course, for Kate Blanchett, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing. My goodness gracious, Kim, that is a lot.
Yes,
After seeing this film, do you think it deserves all those accolades, all that recognition? And just go ahead and
absolutely.
let us know, how did you feel about this film overall? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Are you conflicted? Are you thinking like, Academy, why would you nominate this? What are y'all thinking? Or are you in agreement with all that? Let us know how you feel, man.
One, My sister, I remember because usually in my family, I'm the one to see the movies first and let everyone else know, like if it's
Hmm.
worth it or not. She saw it first and she go, "Girl, I hated this movie." And I was like, "Oh man," but I saw it and one, I cried. Um,
Oh,
it went so deep for me.
okay,
Um, this movie is brilliant. Um,
okay.
for me, it's worth every award, and there's so many obvious ones, but one of the awards I really believe it's truly worthy of is editing.
Mm,
This film is so complex. This film thrives in the gray, okay, is how I felt about it. Uh,
really?
yeah, I really think it thrives in the gray
Okay.
because oh, there's so much I wanna say about it, but overall, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it touched on a subject that has been so prevalent with things like cancel culture and the Me Too movement, um, but I also, just watched, She Said, which is a movie about the 2 reporters that really broke, wide open the investigation into Harvey Weinstein, and a film like that, it's easy to go, bad guy, cancel him." But this film really lives so much in the gray in that Lydia Tarr, you don't fall in love with her in the way of, "Oh, I just love her. She's just so this, she's just so that." I love the way Kate Blanchett plays and the brilliance of her, but in terms of her complexities of, is she a bully? Is she a predator? And I know this is a spoiler review, so I'm gonna talk about it, but, did she do this? Did she cause that girl to kill herself? Because there's so many scenes where we only see one side of the story, but I really feel like, and at over 2 hours, it's a tough watch. You might have to pause it, go do something else, and come back because it can be a bit sleepy at times. However, the complexity is so much in the gray, in that what we see head on of Lydia Tarr and her behaviors and what she's doing, it's easy to just look at it and go, "Oh, well, you're just living a life of opulence and power. You're in this highbrow field of orchestra where everyone must be highly talented and highly intellectual. And for you to thrive in that world, what kind of person do you have to be? Do you have
Right.
to be that kind of person? Can you manage your power in a way that is appropriate? Can people in these levels of power, is it even possible to not give in to the temptation to abuse power? And by what degree? Is it a Harvey Weinstein? Well, it's like, well, yeah, hello, that's very easy. Or it's these subtle things that you see. And I want to go deeper into it with you, but for example, in the emails with Krista, her assistant that unalived herself,
Right.
and throughout the movie, you start to get little hints of Krista because I love that they never did a flashback with an actual scene between her and Krista. You
Small
didn't
one.
see
Small
it.
one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
She was having the nightmares, and
you're
it was, I
right. The
think, like a
nightmares.
sexual scene. Yeah.
Yes,
I think that
yes.
was her with the red hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, with the red hair. But those areas are so gray until you get these haunting moments. And I say haunting in terms of how the scene played out, but also if you pay attention, and I noticed this because at one point I almost threw my phone. I was like, "Oh, who is that?" There's several ghosts in the
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
had to pause and rewind. As you can tell, I didn't see it in the theater. I watched it on Peacock, but I had to it's on Peacock, by the way,
Right.
guys.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I had to pause and rewind and go,
What is that?
I knew I saw something. Hold on. Do, 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 do. Yup, yup. Who is that? And why are you at the edge of her bed?
Right.
Like Todd Field did a brilliant job of showing her indiscretions in a way that they were haunting her rather than a scene where she's yelling at Krista and you're fired and you'll never work in this town again. You get it in these little pieces of seeing the email of Krista emailing oh, what was the young lady? We just talked about
Francesca,
it. But thank you,
yeah.
Francesca, going, she won't talk to me. Can you please put me on speaker? Can you get her to talk to me? And then you're like, oh, so she was alienating her. I want to go deeper into it with you because it's so multi-layered, but this movie is so personal to me for so many reasons.
Right.
But one of the main things I got out of it is that, let me put it this way. When you're in a room full of people who are highly intellectual, very talented, some privileged. I'm not going to say everyone that works in a classical orchestra, you're all privileged. Look, some people worked from the dirt to get to where they are.
Right.
But you're in this room of ball gowns and jewels and caviar and classical music. That's the world in which
Right.
Tar's world thrives. You have people that either enter the room and they belong there 100% because of their privilege, their stature, their place in society. And then you have people like Tar, who you can't just walk in the room and exist. You have to lie, cheat, steal, kill, I don't know, in
Yeah.
order to be above. You can't just exist with them. Oh, if I'm going to be in this room, I have to be above. And we kind of get this sense of how much of a liar she is when she goes back home. So, look, I'm going all over the place,
You're
but
good. I love it.
I think we can get into it because there's a
Yeah.
lot that I want to get into. But overall, I love this film because it goes into why are we canceling people? Do they deserve to be canceled? What's the difference between a bully and a predator?
Not much, and you're fine. Yeah, I
You
asked you how
know?
you felt, and you answered
Yeah.
my question, and
Yeah.
you know, in the best way possible.
Did I?
Um,
Because I dodge
yeah,
around a lot.
no, that was
I'm
perfect, guys.
messing
Let
with
us know in the chat in the comment section how you felt about that from Miss Kimberly. I thought it was amazing. But I really did enjoy this film too. Out of all the 6 nominations that it received, I think they were all well deserved. Whether or not she should win or the film should win in all those categories, we can possibly discuss that later in another video. Of course, there are still some other nominated films that I do have to see. Now,
Yeah.
this is rated R. I'm curious on why it got that rating. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm just curious. But of course, it is quite lengthy at 2 hours and 38 minutes. And so, if you haven't seen the film, you may want to take a nap before you do, because, like you said, it is kind of sleepy time. There was a
Yes.
number of times where I was adjusting myself. I
Yeah.
did have to press pause a few times and come back. That doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy myself though.
Let me tell
I
you
found
something, Brandon. I paused. I put on some Shalimar. I did a 5-minute dance party, and then
okay.
I came back to it to wake myself
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
second
yeah.
time around.
Right,
Okay, let me
right.
get back to the movie because
You're
it
good.
really will put you to sleep, but it's very cerebral and it's very thoughtful.
Right. It is. It did struggle a few times to, keep my attention.
Mhm.
But there were a lot of, brief moments to where I was really sitting up in my seat, like, okay, this is really good and good, getting
Yeah.
good, especially around the 1 hour mark when
Mhm.
we kind of saw her. I think it was right at 57 minutes where we saw her first time conducting.
Oh,
Something else that just really just stood out to me about the whole film is when it started off and she was being interviewed on stage. I absolutely loved and adored her character. And I had so much respect for her. The guy is just going down this long list of all of these accomplishments that she did.
mhm.
She has her PhD in musicology and this and that, and has done this. And, she's trying to reach this new, I forgot the musician's name, but they kept saying the fifth orchestra,
Oh,
how
yeah.
she's trying to accomplish this. And she just seems so humble, just like, like she worked hard, she deserved it, like nothing is wrong. And I was like, man, this was what's up. I am so excited to dive into this character. And it
Mm,
was so dialogue heavy at the very beginning. I didn't
yeah.
know. Like, I only watched the trailer once before I saw it. I was like, is the whole movie going to just take place on stage? And if so, I was perfectly fine with it.
Mhm.
But as the film progresses on and we're peeling back the layers, I'm just saying to myself, wait a minute, you're not that good of a person. You're kind of evil. You're kind of manipulative. I like how you took up for your daughter Petro at school and was just like, hey, I know what you're doing.
I
Please
love
stop
it.
it. I'm gonna come for you. She even
I was
changed your
I was
she
right
even
there with the mama bear. I was like,
yeah,
"Bear,
yeah.
snatch her little red coat wearing self
Right,
and let
right.
kick my daughter again and see what happens.
And also
Nobody's gonna believe you."
the privilege that went into that as well. I mean, only a white woman can go threaten another child, well, no matter what
No,
color the child is.
that's
You
not
know,
true.
Huh? Oh, okay,
That's not true,
okay.
and I haven't admitted anything, and nobody has any proof. But
Cool, cool,
continue.
cool, cool, cool. Well,
I can tell you that's not true.
I would
I've
say
got
Lydia's
three little
character.
boys in my life, and
I got you, but I did love that scene, and that did, that touched me personally.
Mhm.
Right there, because I just don't like bullies and predators. But she was just like, hey, don't tell any other adults about this, because they won't believe you, because I'm an adult too. And then she just walking away, she's greeting people and saying goodbye. So that was crazy right there. But overall, like, yeah, I love this. I love the ending. I thought that was
Mhm.
phenomenal. She's I guess somewhere in Asia or the Philippines, conducting
Thailand.
some type of amusement park or ride. And we all know that she doesn't want to be there, but she deserved it, in my
Well,
opinion. So
yeah.
I love that. But go ahead with what you was about to say.
Well, I had a question for you because I do agree with you when the movie starts out and she's having that interview, and I'm just like, wow, oh wow, okay, take me into this world of orchestras and symphonies, and I'm really interested in that music world and the way a musician's mind works. That's very interesting to me. But I'm with you on hearing her accomplishments, and something I loved was, and I think this adds to the whole concept of cancel culture in this film, where I kind of want to go with this. But I love how she was so knowledgeable, obviously where she is now, about the history. Because some people are a star right now because they're getting their 15 minutes of fame. But if you ask them about the history of their practice, for example, there's some pop stars that are it right now. They're so it. But if you ask them about the history of pop music and who the trailblazers were, they kind of don't know. They're just kind of having their 15 minutes of fame because they're it. But you can
Right.
really tell a craftsman by how much they know about the history, because she wasn't just spitting facts about the history of composers and musicians, but she really, in that interview, she was going into, this is what that composer was thinking. And I love that because that's a passion for one's craft. That's
Right.
more than your 15 minutes of fame.
Right.
But something that turned for me, Brandon, and I wonder if you caught this, is when she was talking about conducting and he was asking her about her methods. And then she goes, because see, I stop time.
Yes. Yes.
Time doesn't go on unless I say so. Immediately, I was like, ooh, and there she really is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
game time. That's
Yeah.
who you really are. That
Yeah.
kinda to me was that kinda what surgeons have. Some surgeons, I'm not gonna label everybody on anything, but that God complex that a
Hmm.
surgeon can have when a
Right.
when a
Right.
mom is like, "Oh, praise God, God saved my child," and the surgeon's going, "I saved your child."
Right. Right. That
God,
was
I
actually,
am
yeah.
God. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. That was actually one of my favorite lines of the whole movie. It was so powerful because she said she leads or with her left hand, she stops
Mhm.
time with her right, and then we saw that pop into fruition around that
Yeah.
57-minute hour mark in the movie where she's doing her thing in the rehearsal. So I really did like that. That stood out a ton to me right there. And so yeah, it's this movie right here. I do appreciate it because it gave me a better understanding of composers in general. Now, a famous composer is John Williams. I know you know who that is, and
Yes.
everybody knows who that is. He's a little bit before my time, but I still know all of his work. I mean, he's considered one of the greats. But like right now, one of my favorites is this gentleman right here. He works
Oh
with Christopher Nolan a
god.
lot. Hans
Yes.
Zimmer, fantastic, fantastic. And I don't mean this to compare. The reason why I'm bringing it up is, I appreciate why I see this film. I'll joke to myself, and this may sound a bit ignorant, but I'm just kind of being silly. It's like, okay, what is the composer up there really doing? Everybody that's
Mhm.
playing an instrument, they know the song, they have it memorized. They don't need
Yeah.
anybody up there to show them what to do. But I do know that deep down inside, I really do know that a composer is really up there making magic, even if I
Mhm.
don't understand it entirely. And this film right here, like, gave me a better definition and understanding, just
Mhm.
about all of the passion and knowledge and craftsmanship, like you said, that
Mhm.
goes into it. And it just made me respect it on,
Mhm.
on a much higher level. And so, I mean, I do like that. Just even when at the very beginning of the movie, where she was giving a lecture, and she was kind of, I think his name was Marcus, He said he was BIPOC, pangender guy.
Yes. Let's
That was
talk about the ultrasonic epistemic dissident.
please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yikes. That scene got to me personally in a lot of ways. Her, as a professor, you want to challenge your students, you do. And that scene takes place when she was guest teaching at Juilliard, and the young man, when she was asking him about Bach,
Yeah,
and don't you
right.
just love Bach? And this is the part in the movie, like I said, there's several themes here: cancel culture, predators, bullies, manipulation, narcissism, gaslighting. But this kind of gets into the cancel culture, which is where it really hit home with me. And she's asking about Bach. How do you feel about Bach? And isn't he just this? And the young man goes, I really can't get into him. And he says, what he is, and as a Black gay man, and because of his poor behavior. And this is kind of the theology of cancel culture: is I cannot accept his art because of his poor behavior.
Right.
And she's trying to kind of have that argument that I feel like many of us started having when the Me Too movement and cancel culture started, and we had people like R. Kelly, James Gunn, which is an argument for me that's kind of personal, of
Zachary Levi.
A little bit, but not so
Right.
not so much.
I
Not
just
so
said that
much
because it's
Zachary.
recent. Right.
Yeah,
right.
it is. No, it is recent, but more so like Zachary, he just had an opinion. But R. Kelly,
Yeah, that's disgusting.
can I jam to you when you talking about Pied Piper and you were leading children to sexual abuse?
Right.
Now, but can I still listen to I Believe I Can Fly and a tear come out of my eye? Or can I still watch something directed by James Gunn when I cannot get your tweets out of my head and how you were joking about child
Right.
sex abuse? Can I, to the degree that you were? And this conversation is so important to the film, because if you look at her attitude, she goes from a professor challenging her student to, okay, well, if you're going to think that, you're going to have to give me a good reason why, which
Right.
is kind of how I feel about young people today and social media. Like, okay, you say this person sucks, but you're going to have to give me a good reason. What's your argument? And
I side with her, but keep going.
I'm 50. Well, this is why I say this film operates in the gray. Because I'm 50.
Nice.
I'm kind of 50-50. I can completely see her point. For example, I
Right. Me
remember
too.
when I was young, being a Christian and growing up in youth groups for myself. I remember one time I got in an argument with a kid at church because they said Eminem sucks. And I said, no, he doesn't. And they said, he does. He says all these curse words, and he uses the Lord's name in vain, and he talks about killing his wife. He sucks. And I go, he doesn't suck. He's amazing. You just don't agree with his content.
Right.
And I get it. It's hard to play some of Shady's old stuff when you have 2 or 3 year olds or 8-year-olds or even 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds in the room, because it's so explicit. You can say that you don't agree with the lyrics, but the man, whether he knows it or not, he's anointed. His talent is on another cosmic level. You can't say that because you don't agree with someone's content or their poor behavior that they're not talented. And I think that's something that when we have this argument about cancel culture, I think that's something that we're going to have to humble ourselves and agree with. Look, I'm going to say something that's going to sound so wrong. R. Kelly's a monster. And as a survivor myself, I take I can't look at him the same, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you he can't sing.
Right. I wouldn't say you're wrong for that at all. I wouldn't say no.
But that's the thing. Ever since all this, I've been in arguments, major arguments. I've experienced a lot for expressing certain views like that. And there are people that say, you can't say that. No, he's not. He can sing and he's talented. He's a monster and a predator, and I'm so glad he's in jail, and I'm not going to buy his new CD.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what she was saying. But the interesting part, Brandon, of that scene was when she went from a challenging professor to, your ultrasonic epistemic dissident. And if we're going to go with Max's thing, like when she said that line, when she goes, okay, students, let's try to think of of this from Max's thing, and his thing seemed very personal. This guy had 20 kids. He was a bad person. What he did, he behaved poorly in life, and I cannot listen to his music. I just can't get into it.
You
And I
notice how
think
he
that
was shaking too,
he
the
was
whole time.
shaking the
Yeah.
whole time. He was intimidated. And Brandon, that kind of brings me into outside of that scene, but something I want to ask you. Did you notice in the hierarchy, not just of orchestra and her world, but do you feel in the hierarchy, and this is what the film is really about, when someone's at a certain level and they truly are brilliant at what they do, they really can sing, they really can write, they really can compose, but their behavior is so poor and so many people see it. Are some people so magnetized by talent that they give away their power to stop abuse?
Yeah, I can see that.
Did you see that in Sharon, her wife?
I wish she would have checked her earlier about how she really felt. That didn't really, that kind of happened towards the end of the film.
Mhm.
Because even in rehearsals, you can see Sharon, they were married, correct?
They were.
Okay, you can see she kept noticing things when she was looking at Olga, when the real life celloist who
Mhm.
never had any acting. I looked up that she learned acting from YouTube videos.
She got that accent. She's not Russian either, I
Right,
don't
right.
believe.
So
Brilliant
yeah,
girl, amazing
she
acting.
Sharon held her tongue a lot during this movie until the very end. When the downfall had already happened, and so I noticed that at least twice during
Yes.
rehearsal. So that's very
Yeah.
unfortunate.
And that's another question, again, operating in the gray. This film, Todd Fields, this is why I believe editing deserves it, because there were so many ways to tell this story that could have been very straightforward. But the way they pieced everything together to make you come out of black and white and into the gray
And it challenged you to think.
and challenge you, because I actually had a lot of compassion for Sharon, and I was like, "You're a woman, you're your partner in life. Look at her. You can see her staring at the pretty young thing over there. You know she's going to get another assistant, another
Right.
intern, and you're at home with your baby. You have a heart condition, not baby, but child. You're holding it down at home. And if you noticed, the interviewer said, your partner in life, you guys have a child, she's your partner, she's your lead violinist, she also did several other things business wise. Sharon was the ultimate partner in terms of, we don't just live together and have a family together, they operated kind of that business together,
Hmm.
tar as a business. And she's the lead violinist, and I had so much compassion for her, but then by the end of the movie I was so mad at Sharon.
Really.
I was mad at Sharon. I was mad at Francesca, because I thought, for Sharon, the first affair that she had with a student, not a student, but a young person, a young intern, the first time she did that, what stopped her from saying, "Hey, you don't do that. You don't treat me like that. Not in this house. This relationship is me, you, and nobody else." And that's a young woman who is enamored with you.
Hmm.
She thinks too big of you. Everything you do, she's going to hang on to. You can't string along a young person like that. Sharon had the power to do that, and she didn't, because she was a benefactor of the power. And that made me realize a lot of these situations, of the cancel culture situations, how many people that were benefiting, that were getting a check from that person,
Right, right.
that
Let
they
me
knew, if I turn them in, I can't collect my checks anymore, but I can stop the abuse.
I hear you 100%. Let me back up just a little bit because you said a number of good things that I want to address. Going back to the gentleman in class that was shaking, I think his name was Marcus. If
Yeah,
it's
I think
not,
so, Mark.
forgive
Yeah.
me, guys out there. One, he was shaking. So I agree in everything you said about R. Kelly. I got you. One of the things is I wish she was more empathetic, but she wasn't. To me, Lydia Tarr had no accountability. She didn't care whose feelings she hurt at all. She can clearly see that the guy is uncomfortable, and you're just kind of like rubbing it in his face. And I didn't appreciate that. Now
Making an example of him.
right, she was picking on him,
She
and
put him on stage. If you
yeah,
look
yeah.
at this, the directing, she could have had that whole conversation. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
That's the way.
she kept going. You know, she did her thing, set him down there, and kept talking to him. She saw how uncomfortable she was. She's not wrong as far as being able to separate the person's personal life and their decisions and the art. I mean, like you said, just because R. Kelly is despicable, that doesn't mean that the man cannot sing. You know, but I'm not gonna get mad at anybody if they can't listen to his music either. I don't blame him for feeling that way and him not being able to you know, relate to Bach. Or I mean, if he just says I don't want to listen to his music,
Yep.
okay, that's one thing. But if he can't be objective, well, it's kind of hard to say objective when someone your cup of tea or taste. But he just wasn't able to separate that. And you
And
know,
that's
I
okay.
yeah, it
That's
is.
100% okay.
It is. It is. He shouldn't say that somebody's wrong either. I'm not saying that he did in this film, just I'm kind of speaking in general. So, like you, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm still leaning to her mostly. You know,
Mm,
with all that, and because I am able to say, okay, while person X may be despicable, you
yeah.
know, they still are. They still have talent. And you know,
Yeah. And
so
that's the hard thing is that with talent comes prestige and respect. And I think that's why it's hard for us to say, yeah, I can still watch a show or no, I can't still listen to their music or watch their stuff. That scene, I have lived that scene. I've experienced that scene and it
I got you.
sucks.
Yeah.
And but one thing in terms of direction that Todd Field did, if you notice, they could have had that whole conversation still while she was sitting. She put him on stage at the
Hmm.
piano. She put him on stage and then she left.
Yeah.
And to me, that goes so deeply. Todd Field did such an amazing job of showing the dynamic of balancing of power and how manipulative people will take somebody who has a valid, wonderful point. Because what that kid said, it really raised some important questions that she needed to answer within herself. Because she sat there and she was in the analogy, she was Bach. You're behaving
Hmm.
poorly, but you're brilliant. And he called her out. What
Yeah.
he essentially did at that piano was he was calling her out. And he was going, you know what, Tar? It was like those. You ever see those movies where it'll pause, and then someone breaks the fourth wall and goes, well, what they really don't know is I'm actually talking to her and about her. That's exactly what happened in the scene that Todd Field did without having to do that. He stopped everything and said, you know what, Lydia? You're screwing around with interns. You have a wife at home. You have a child. You're taking advantage of these young girls. And when they don't do what you say, you gaslight them. You don't talk to them. And then when they try to get a job somewhere else, he read her.
Yeah.
He read her and he showed her you can't hide. And that's why she got so upset. And that's why she put him on that stage and made an example of him. And that's where the line between bully and predator gets so blurred. That scene just like broke me down.
How do you feel about the edited video? Because we're in that classroom and apparently a student was recording it and edited, you know, it's a, you know, just demonized her. Also, how do you feel about the way she treated Sebastian and how she kind of, I was just kind of struggling like, are you just doing this because he gave his opinion that in rehearsal that day? Like, am I missing something? But how do you feel about those two things that happened in the
Yeah,
film?
getting fired for sharing your opinion. Look,
'Cause
look, you said something really interesting. When you were talking about Matt, was it Max? Did we decide his name was Max
I
or
think
Marcus?
Max or Marcus.
Marcus. We're like Maximilian. That's who we're talking about. For Marcus, for Marcus, you said something about accountability.
Hmm.
What's interesting is that in some areas, some people that don't have family that'll hold you down and speak truth to power. Nobody can speak truth to power like somebody's mother. You know
True,
what I'm saying? But
true.
if you don't have that, like Tar in the beginning, Francesca asked her, "You want to visit with your mom? You're in town. She wants to see you." And she's like, "No, next visit." Like, okay,
Yeah,
so
that was horrible. I'm sorry.
that voice that no, go, yeah, no, I love it. No, let's talk about it. That voice that she could have listened to because her mom, imagine if she did meet with her mom. Why didn't she want to meet with her mom? Because her mom would have said, remember who you are.
Right, right.
don't treat people like this. This isn't who you are. This isn't how I raised you.
Right.
Everybody in Tar's life that had the power or the opportunity to hold her accountable, she gaslit them and she abused her power. Because Sebastian was a colleague. She agreed that he's brilliant. He's great at what he does. When she was talking to the board, and they're all like, I mean, Sebastian's just, I mean, he's just so fabulous. And she's like, yes, yes, I know. He wasn't exactly her equal, but he was on the level. He
Right.
could have, when he called her out in his office, when he was like, I know what you're doing. It's that young girl, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was keeping her accountable.
She got
She
defensive.
gasped at him, and but she didn't just yell at him and go, "What are you talking about?" She totally went into narcissistic mode of, well, Sebastian, I just, how could you say,
Right,
you know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? She went in
Yeah,
narcissism, like, how could you say that? And
Straight
she didn't
Karen.
even, straight up, not just Karen, anybody.
Right,
I've had people of all types do that.
right.
She went into that mode, and if you notice, she didn't get aggressive. She actually went a level down,
Mm-hmm.
and he behaved as though she went wolf on him
Right.
and yelled at him. And I noticed that power dynamic. It's like all of a sudden she got bigger, and I love the acting because they played it big small. She got bigger in her narcissism, and he got smaller. He actually stepped away and he cowered when she said, "Well, I don't understand how you could say these things about me." And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm
Right.
sorry. I don't know what I'm saying." And that Todd Field and Cate Blanchett, I want to see them do another project together because what a team they are. They really played that power dynamic so brilliantly. And that's one of the reasons I believe that she should get Best Actress. I really do. And
Ooh.
I really do. And that's why I think he should get Best Director because that dynamic of trusting your actor, because Cate Blanchett's one of those actresses. Like he said, when he wrote this movie, he was a screenwriter, by the way. When he wrote this movie, he was like, I wasn't looking at like, oh, let me hire a casting director. He's like, there's one person I want to play this role, and it's
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And
He said if she wasn't going to come on, he wasn't going to do it. If I read this correctly, I think that when he found out that she was booked, it made him have a car accident or he crashed his car. I hope I didn't read that the
oh
wrong
my
way, but I
God.
think that's true. I
Wow.
mean, he was okay, of course.
Wow.
But yeah, I got you.
But
Question.
accountability, isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
Just
big time.
no accountability.
Even when I think
Elliot.
played by Mark Strong, when he tried to come in and give her the paper or the disposition, something, she didn't want to take it and she just
Yep.
made an excuse, didn't want to even look him in the eye, walked around him and left, walked out the door. When Sharon, her wife's name is Sharon, when they was in the car and she almost had a wreck, she's like, dude, either slow down or let me out the car. I thought she gonna have a common sense and just slow down. She gonna pull over. I'm like, are you serious? This is you are a child, woman.
Yes.
You are childish.
But yeah, dude, that's such a great point. That's what some people in power can do. Because this picture is everything, because you look at that and you see a woman who is delighting in her artistry, in her craft. You're delighting in her work. She's doing what the guy in the video, when she was watching in her childhood home, and he was talking about what music is supposed to make you do, and the job of the conductor is I'm bringing out the passion. You can listen to this music or you can feel it, and my job is to make you feel it. And that is Tar's job, and that's what she was brilliant at. But that car scene that you bring up, Brandon, says everything. You are brilliant, and you are making me feel this music. But the minute somebody calls you to accountability, you literally she almost got in a car accident, like you said. Right. And her partner goes, "You either slow down or let me out." And she pulled the car over and said, "Get the hell out of the car."
That's crazy. Speaking about accountability, and you was talking about her mother can drill her. When she was back at her home that she grew up in, watching those VHS tapes, the man that came in there, was that like her relative?
Her brother.
Like brother? Okay.
That was her brother. Did you notice his accent?
I don't remember.
It
I
was
remember how he checked her though, and I like that.
this
But
is why she did Homegirl didn't want to go home. I'm
right,
having
right,
affairs. I'm abusing power.
right,
I'm
right.
doing stuff on the board. And within, I love it because there was no small talk. Hey sis, how you been? Oh, saw you on the cover of the New Yorker. How's it going? Hey, you know what? Now that I think about it, it feels like you don't remember where you're from.
Right. No, don't
Within
know where you're
10
going. Yeah,
seconds, hey,
love it. I love it.
you don't
I
know
love
where
it.
you're going and you don't remember where you came from.
Right, right. You know,
I was like, he calls you out.
sibling, yeah, siblings can get on your nerve, but you can always count on them for the truth. You
Read
know,
her,
even if it stings.
read
Uh,
her.
this may be obvious as hell, but it's slipping my mind. At the very beginning, okay, she had the interview on stage with the gentleman, and then afterwards, she was in some foyer. Francesca was off to the side while she was talking. I don't know if that was a fan of her work or was that actually Krista that was like, "Hey, can I text you?" Was that a fan or was that
Krista
Krista?
has red hair,
Okay.
and we see that because there. I think you had mentioned there were some scenes where there was little glimpses of Krista,
Hmm.
but also if you catch the ghost, you guys, if you watch it, pause. I forgot which scenes. There's several scenes where you can actually see the ghost of Krista in the background, and there's a dream sequence that you mentioned.
Right.
And no, that was a fan, and that was just an example of Francesca realizing, first of all,
She a predator.
I imagine that's how Francesca met her.
Ooh, I like that.
That's what I got out of that
Little
scene.
game recognizes game. Like, wait, I've seen this before. Okay, I like that,
I
Kim. I
know
like
this,
that.
but
I
I
like.
like your bag. Oh, you're so brilliant. Girl, please. I've seen that before.
I mean,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
okay.
Like
I like
Krista
that.
was like,
I like
I mean,
that.
Francesca was like, yeah. And
I
then
like that.
I'm sure that's how Francesca saw the interaction between her and Krista. Because
I
I
like
think
that.
Krista, they were like two assistants. And with her lifestyle, you need two assistants. You really do. I don't falter with that. But that was that. I know. And this is what I love about Kate Blanchett and how she played this role. There's so much that Kate Blanchett did physically that showed us what she was thinking. There's a lot of
This is true.
actors that can say their lines so wonderfully, but if you give them a scene where you're like, I don't want you to say anything, but actually what I want you to say is da 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 da. And there's some actors, I won't mention. I've been doing some projects and stuff, and I've experienced like that can happen where an actor's great at what they do, but if you ask them to emote and to say something very clearly, but with your body and on your face, you will be doing take after take after take after take after take because some people just can't do it. In that scene, the minute she's like, she goes from all this praise, and the girl's like, "How did you do this? And how did you do that? And when you do this, you just like, I just come out of my body, like." And then Kate, she just gets, you're just inflating and inflating and inflating, and it's like, okay, you've worshipped me enough. I'll give you a little bit of me. And there's this moment where she communicates with her body, and her hand kind of brushes against the girl's hand, and oh, your
Hmm.
purse. But I noticed that touch, that point of contact was a power move. It
Yeah.
was a manipulation.
Yeah.
And then she grabbed her hand. Who makes this purse? It's fabulous. Oh, do you want one? Can I text you? You know, that's how that happens. It's inviting you. Now you can ask me if you can text me. That abuse of power or use of
Yeah.
power, depending on how you see it in the gray. I don't
Man, I still have so many questions I want to run at you.
know.
First, the donor that she was with at the table, the older gentleman, I think his name started with an A.
Yeah.
Was it Adler?
Yeah, I think
I think
so.
that was his name. How do you feel about her? Because I thought this was kind of redeeming for her character at the very beginning of the film, at least. How he was complaining about his chauffeur or driver, that it was the board, that his punctuality, and she
Mhm,
was paying for it, but she
mhm.
didn't want him to know that she was paying for it because she didn't want to know that he was forgotten or something. Did that have any significance to you at all? And then
Oh,
did you?
yeah.
Okay.
I
And how
love
did
that
you
you
feel about
mentioned
that
that.
relationship? Because I thought that was a nice gesture that she didn't want him. I mean, if I'm interpreting that the right way, that she didn't want him just to feel like some washed old, watered down dinosaur or something. I don't know. I thought that was redeeming, since we've been kind of bashing her this whole review. Do you agree or disagree with me?
I love that you brought that up.
Okay.
I love that you brought that up, and that kind of leads to me thinking that they deserve the Oscar for screenplay. The way Todd Field wrote that, I love that you said that because that's exactly what Todd Field was trying to do when he wrote that scene. And it's so funny you mentioned that because that scene is so small, or was it? One, when she's talking to Sebastian in his office, and she's mentioning that guy. I can't remember if his name is Alistair or Adler. It
Yeah.
did start with an A.
Right.
But she mentioned, first of all, don't come at me because you're having an affair with him. He's married, and you live in in the same apartment building. You're having an affair with, let's call him Adler, and if that's not his name, I apologize, because I'm 100% sure that's not his name. But you're having an affair with Adler. So Sebastian had a relationship with that guy, but that guy was an important member. I think he was on the board. He was a decision maker. I don't know his exact role, but what I can tell you is that he was a decision maker in how much freedom she had to do what she wants to do. And that scene was written to make you go, well, that was charitable.
Right.
Yeah, it was controlling. And this is
Right.
something else that I related to a lot in the film of people of power doing something kind that other people look at and go,
Oh.
well, isn't that so kind what
Right.
you
Right.
did for
Right.
her?
Right.
So
Right.
sweet.
Right.
He's
Right.
so
Right.
thoughtful. That was a control move.
Right.
She was saying, oh, go ahead.
No, I looked it up. His name is Andrus,
Thank
actually.
you, because I
Andrus.
was butchering it. I was like, Alistair, Alize,
Right.
Alexa.
Love it.
But Alistair, that was a power move. That was the person on the board was going, hey, who's paying for that?
Right.
Basically, that scene was saying this guy wants a personal driver. And our board, we don't have that in our budget, but I got money. So to shut him up, and I will lord that over his head. Look, you wanted a driver, I got you one. So shut up and let me do what I want to do.
Right. Right. Right.
That wasn't altruistic of her. That was power. Yeah, I have, and that was interesting how she said he was complaining that he's late because her act of altruism was BS. You got some Uber driver that sometimes he's on time, sometimes he's not, to be his personal driver. You put some guy from the street in a
Right.
chauffeur hat and
I didn't even think
presented
of
a
that.
driver.
Yeah.
The guy's never on time.
Right.
Forget about it. He's never on time. That's what he was complaining about. So you
Yeah.
literally shut him up with some half-arse
Right. Right. Right.
driver.
Love
That
it.
scene said so much about her altruism. She didn't even get a good driver. She just shut up. Here's your driver, and just let me do what I want to do.
Got you. What how did you feel about, we briefly talked about the nightmares, but I don't know the name of the instrument that goes back and forth like this, that was
A
making the noise.
metronome.
Metronome, thank you. She hearing the humming from her fridge or refrigerator, like a number of things. Like, whoa, I that's one of the things that got beyond me. I was like, are we getting to some supernatural stuff here? I mean, I know they had ghosts and stuff at least twice that we talked about, but what I'm sorry, I was kind of lost with that. I didn't really get it. Can you help me out with that? Did you understand it better than I did?
I loved those scenes
Okay,
for
help me out.
several reasons, some personal reasons, and just as a film lover. To me, what it said was, it doesn't matter if it looks like you got away with something in public, your deeds are going to haunt you.
Okay,
And
I
that's
can
the
dig it.
justice. You can't run from it.
I can dig it.
That was everyone else in the world may be like, and her orchestra, like they knew. They were like, oh, here she go with another intern. I'm gonna lose my job. Damn. Like everyone knew she was abusive and knew that their opportunity to do what they loved could be taken away because of her abuse.
Gotcha.
But God. But when you are evil and you operate in evil, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah,
You can't rebuke the demons you play with.
you cannot.
And
I
all
agree.
that, the metronome And that buzzing sound she heard, she was haunted by her own talent. The very thing that gave her
Oh,
power is the very thing that haunted her.
she was not at peace.
She was
That's
not at peace because
yeah.
if you notice, the first time that happened, and I don't know if you picked up on this, Brandon, but the neighbor across the way, the old lady and that daughter that was like, "You gonna go help me?" The daughter that was like, "What? Come over here,
I was
open the
yeah.
door,
Right,
turn off your
right.
like that creepy daughter."
Hmm.
Um, that was the mom buzzing for help. She was using
Mm.
one of those buzzers, like when someone's bedridden,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's what that sound was. So the first time she heard it, and if you notice, Brandon, at first she heard it, she's like, "Buzzing, what is that buzzing?" And then she mimicked it. That was her craft.
Yeah, that's true.
"Mm,
She did it at the beginning. You're
mm,
right. You're right. I forgot about that.
mm, mm, mm," and then
Mm,
she went over to her piano. She couldn't let it go. The buzzing that was pissing her off, she had to walk over to her piano and match the tone.
great
And that
observation.
and that showed her gift. That showed you're annoyed by a beeping sound, but you're so gifted that you can't let it go. You have to walk over to the piano and you have to match the sound and you have to finish the note. You're haunted by your own talent. And that could either be a gift because if you notice when she did that, she started writing a song for Petra. She
Mhm,
got the
mhm.
first notes of that song from the beeping. The
Okay.
beeping that was pissing her off,
Yeah.
and she walked over to her piano and was like, "Hmm, hmm, do 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 do." She started writing a new song, and then she was working on it throughout the film. And then she, at one point, she grabbed a pencil and she called it "For Petra."
Right, right, right.
That was her talent, but that's your gift, right? So you see, she's making a song out of something that's pissing her off, but then you see she's getting up out of bed. She can't sleep. The fridge is beeping. She's haunted by it. The metronome. She's what is the sound? That was the haunting kind of letting her know, "This gift that you're using, you're abusing it. And I will keep you up all night, and I will haunt you, and I will scare you."
And I love it because
And
early
I love it.
when you was first describing that, you said, "And you can't run from it."
No.
And you can't because when she was following Olga to her home down that corridor, trying to give her a little stuffed animal, and then
Yeah.
the dog was there, and then she ran and she smashed her
Yep.
face, and I was
Yes.
laughing. I was like, "Ha ha ha ha!" That's what you get. You just broke that down so eloquently, and I'm over here like ha 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 ha. Like so, but I did like that. Um, but also I saw that you made me think about that.
That was
But
a physical manifestation of the
yes,
haunting, and I
yes,
liked that
yes.
because that gives me I don't wanna sound nasty, but, that just in terms of what we see in the world, when we look at a court case that's unfolding publicly, or we look at a situation where we've been wronged and it feels like this person is just marching in success right in front of you, and you feel like there's absolutely no justice. That scene gave me hope that there's justice.
Oh
You
yeah,
might not see it, it might not be in the
right,
headlines, but
right.
you're gonna be haunted. And you know what? She tripped and she fell and it manifested in a physical way because
Yes,
her face
yes.
was so banged up. And that just I don't want to sound evil, but in terms of just a person, people in the world seeing injustices all the time and watching stuff play out on social media and hearing court verdicts, and we think people are getting away with things and we think they got away scot free. That scene gave me such hope that
Oh yeah.
there's so much justice happening that's not going to look the way you wanted it to look, but
But it
it
happens.
will be
Right,
justice because
right.
she fell flat
Smack
on
in her
her face
face. Right.
and her nerves. She
Yeah, yeah.
damaged several
Yeah, I
nerves.
forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. You're right. So
Mhm.
I thoroughly I thoroughly enjoyed that right there. That was great. I love that. I was about to say something else, but it slipped my mind.
I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're good. But
I'm sorry.
how did you feel? It also was a lot about her character of how dismissal. I mean, I was going to say dismissive of her neighbor. I would be annoyed too if somebody was, ringing my doorbell talking about, "Hey, did you steal my newspaper delivery?" No, I didn't. But she was so disgusted for helping the woman off the floor. She ran back to her home and was bathing in the sink. That was a bit extra. I don't think that she got poop on her or anything. I'm not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But that was very telling right there to me. But you can comment on that if you want to. But also, I like the relationship between her and Olga was interesting,
Mm.
especially when they was eating at the table. I didn't know where it was going to go. I just found it interesting, and I also like the way that Francesca resigned too. I kind of wanted to see how you felt about that. It just seemed like Francesca knew the game this whole time and was planning her exit, and did it in some glass onion type of way where it just was perfectly executed in the end, and it made me smile from ear to ear.
Hmm.
I don't know how'd you feel about any of that right there.
Me too. Well, first to start out with the neighbor again, that was, and this is why I think the Oscar editing wise and screenwriting, because that
I know what I was
scene
about to say. Okay.
as a writer, there's so many ways that you can write a screen. Like the example I used before about how we never saw a scene with Krista where it laid out everything. The writing was so good, and it kept these undertones of what's really happening, and it told the story without telling the story in so many ways. And what we were talking about, Brandon, about accountability and how everybody in her life that had the power to say something, sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Most people started saying something.
Mm-hmm.
She did it with Elliot at the dinner table. He
Mm-hmm.
started questioning her about something, and then she started going into some of her accolades to shut him down. Well, I mean, I won this award, so are you really going to ask me about that?
Right.
Everything she shut someone down. The Neighbor was a really wonderfully written example about people in power. You eventually will be taken down, if not publicly, psychologically, because The Neighbor was another haunting. That was another example of you can't get away with this.
Gotcha.
I
I like
see
that.
you. And I love that scene when she went in to help the woman's mother who fell down. And I used to work in one of my first jobs as a teenager, I worked at a assisted living facility
Oh wow.
with elderly people. And so that scene really hit home. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, she messed herself. She fell on the ground. She's an elderly person that really needed compassion and help.
Yeah.
And, she picked her up because the girl forced her to, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? And, but when she went back into her apartment, man, I never seen someone rip off their clothes so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she threw it in the garbage, and she was butt naked in her kitchen.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to me because if you notice, Brandon, she didn't take the time to run to the shower. Your shower's right there.
Yeah. She had like she was
Right
dying.
freaking there.
Like it was acid or something.
You had to get it off so quickly that you turned on the freaking sink and took little teaspoons of water and was like,
Yeah.
ooh, 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 I gotta get this off me. Because you had to face truth. This is your demise. When we get old, we lose control. When we age, we have, maybe we fall down and someone has to be forced to help us up.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of this I don't know, like foreseeing, like at some point, Tar, you're going to go down.
Yeah.
And it
And
disgusted her that
I,
could possibly happen to somebody like her.
right.
Linda.
Well
Linda,
said.
ain't no
Right.
Lydia. Her brother
Right.
was like, "Hey, Linda." I'm
Oh, my
sorry,
bad, Lydia. Yeah.
Lydia.
Right. 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 Yeah, and she is losing control. One of the funniest parts of the movie to me is when the sister of the neighbor came and was like, "Hey, my late mother passed. We heard the music. We want to show the house, but we want to schedule it around." She took it as a compliment at first, like, "Yeah, but she was like, "No, we want to schedule showings around your rehearsal." And then she loses her mind playing the accordion, just like, "Oh, you're going to hell." And I was laughing my butt off right
That
there. I was
scene
like,
was
yes,
awesome.
yes,
One,
yes,
because it hit. I was like,
yes.
"Okay, I like these lyrics."
Yeah, you're stupid. They did,
And she was
yeah, right.
rhyming. She's
It was
like,
some
"There's a
bars, yeah, right.
bell, and you're going
Mm,
to
right,
hell."
right, right,
And
right.
but I love you. I love that you love that, Brandon,
Yeah,
because
I was
that
smiling.
also hit on you. I totally was smiling because that was like, and the interesting part is this film takes place in a 3-week span of time.
Hmm.
And it sometimes feels like months, but it's like, oh no. Because you would think, okay, over months of people canceling you publicly, you might start to lose it. This all happened within 3 weeks, from the
Right.
beginning on the jet to this. So what made her lose her mind so quickly? Because I'm like, I could see you losing your mind and going whiplash on the guy, on Elliot, you know, when she was like in the back and you thought, okay, this is her final performance before she gets canceled. And then you're like, oh, she just shoved old dude off the thing. Like she went straight Will Smith in front of everybody and knocked the crap out of that guy and
Yes.
beat him up in front of everyone.
Yes.
She lost it.
Yeah, she did.
It
I
took
can't
her
believe I
a
forgot about that part. Yeah, yeah,
she was
yeah.
I was like, and I was like, when was this movie made?
Right,
You guys stop, leave
right,
Will
right,
alone. But
right,
like,
right, right.
it was so telling. But she literally lost her mind within a week.
Yeah.
The
They
idea
have
that
to.
somebody could call you out. Hmm?
No, go ahead. The idea that somebody keep going,
No,
keep
no,
going.
no. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say they have to play that clip at the Oscars this year as a joke. You know, as they're like, you know, oh, that looks familiar. Will to shoot, you know, they that would be
No, you
perfect.
cool, but watch out for Kate
Yeah,
Blanchett. She might be in the back.
it would be a wasted opportunity if they don't take advantage of all these jokes. But anyway, go. I hope they do. I'll be disappointed if they didn't. But go ahead, go ahead. What you were
That's
saying?
so messy. That's so funny though. No,
Yeah,
Mark Strong and Chris Rock should come out to present the Oscar for Best Screenplay.
right, 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 right.
um, but no, just the fact that that unraveling when they said, "I noticed you play music," and she's like, oh, "Well, you're welcome." And they're like, "Yeah, no, I don't want to hear that," and that's what made her lose her mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How dare you? Because okay, so this goes back to the scene at at Juilliard. The reason she went in on Marcus or Max, the young man,
Mm-hmm.
the dissident, the reason she went on him so much about Bach and about don't you dare tell me that someone's bad behavior could possibly make you stop loving their art. If you tell me that, I'm going to lose my mind. That is essentially what that whole scene was about
Yeah,
because that's what happened. The minute somebody told her, and mind you, these people, they weren't related to all of her drama, they were just neighbors. But the minute someone told her, we don't like your music, we don't want to hear it. And the minute the world was canceling her, holding up signs, they were protesting,
yeah.
making and I'm going to go back to something you asked me about that I skipped over because I run my mouth too much. But
That's fine.
your viewers are like, mm-hmm. But that made her go insane. The idea that her bad behavior could lead to somebody possibly not appreciating her art. And in a nutshell, Brandon, with everything we said, that's the predator's view of cancel culture. We know what our views are. We know what our arguments are in the black, the white, and the gray. But on the predator side, you think, how does Harvey Weinstein view cancel culture? How does
Yeah,
how do some people that are in the wrong view cancel culture? For them, it is what I do is what I do, and I will manipulate it to work for me. But you can't tell me that you don't love what I do. You can't tell me that you don't love when I make you feel the music. And cancel culture, we have put it all in a box and said, you suck. Not you suck, but you're talented. Not you're bad, but you're talented. We just put it in this conglomerate of you suck. And that's the predator's greatest fear. And that's what this film is about
I love it.
wholeheartedly.
I love it, Kim. I love it. Um, Speaking about they were protesting because of the death of Krista.
Oh, the
I think
video. You had asked about the video.
the video.
Yeah, I didn't answer that. I
What part
forgot.
about the video?
Remember you asked about that what did we think of that edited video?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you think that was fair?
Sorry, I have ADD. I go all over the
Are
place.
you good? You good? Do you think that was fair?
No, it wasn't, and it brings up a really good point about society and cancel culture is we've taken cancel culture into our own hands because we don't trust the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make this video because if I show the actual video, people might think that you're just being a professor that's pushing your student. And they need to understand that what you were really doing was abusing him. And when you look at that scene, you can say, okay, she was pushing her student to think outside the box. For that, her initial question, I can forgive her 100%. When she was sitting down, I can forgive that. When she was sitting down going, but it's Buck.
Yeah.
Okay, so he made 20 kids and, human trafficking, but you can't tell me that he's not talented. That question I'm fine with. You can't tell me he's not talented because that's objective. That's something that we lose in cancel culture is, but are they talented? Yes. Okay. But all the power dynamics and abusing power, should they go to jail for that? That's an automatic yes. But are they talented? And that I can forgive. But if that video was shown originally, the person who made that compilation didn't want anybody to have the opportunity to second guess your judgment of her being an abuser. And it's understandable that we don't trust the justice system. However, the problem with that, sometimes you do have to trust the evidence. Sometimes you do have to trust, girl, just show the video in its entirety and don't try to be creative.
Yeah, right.
Because at the heart of it, and this is what we get with Francesca, while Francesca was delayed in her calling it out because Francesca got the ball rolling. The parents did try to sue. However, Francesca got the ball rolling because remember when she went to her apartment, she found all the stuff she wrote about her, pig, bitch, all that. Francesca's actions of finally saying something did get the ball rolling on having her to be held accountable legally. However, did Francesca talk to a student and say, let me cut this for you? You water down the message when you do that, because if it had been discovered that and it was easy. She's like, see how it's cut? Like, it's not even 1 minute he's here. Like obviously they could tell, but we take the first glance and we go, look what she did. She touched him and then she said to the masturbator. and then we look at that and that's our evidence. But I would say I didn't like that, and I don't like it when people do that, because it's like, look, if I really have a chance to take this to court, please don't make something that I will have to toss out.
Right, 100%.
That's what I saw. It's like,
100%.
I know you're trying to help the movement, but when it really comes down to putting her behind bars, that's the kind of stuff that'll get you a hung jury. That's the kind of stuff that'll get a whole court case thrown out.
That is well said, 100%. And on top of that, an accountability and whether she's guilty or not, do you think she should be held responsible for the death of Krista? Because I mean, what she did was, not cool at all, and that's an understatement. I mean, it was real messed up to throw under the bus that way. But I don't know how. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know
legally. Well, I'm not about to jump here and be like, well, I am, so just listen. I'm so far from. I think I still have unpaid parking tickets, but no, I don't. But legally, I can't say. But I will say this: one sentence could have made her liable. If she had ever emailed back, or if Francesca could have ever said, she told her, "You're useless, honey. Why don't you just unalive yourself?"
Unalive yourself. You're right. Then
one phrase like that, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
that makes
because
sense.
then you have that. Remember that court case? They made a Hulu movie about it, about the young lady who was telling her boyfriend, like, "Hurry up already! You haven't done it. You haven't unalived yourself. Like, let's go." If that, I forgot what that movie was called, but if that was the case, then yes. But unfortunately, this is what we as a society have created cancel culture to be. Is if you did something where there's not enough evidence, or if you did something that there's no legal stature for, I want to create cancel culture which covers all those gray areas, that says you are going to lose your income, you are going to lose your job, you are going to lose your status, you are going to lose your recommendations, you are going to lose your friends, because I don't like that you pushed her to unalive herself.
I got you. Okay.
Kind of.
No, I love it. I love it. But let me ask you, so wrapping things up, like what do we have left that we haven't went over? Or what are your final thoughts?
God, my final thoughts are I think for the Oscars overall, and I'm not going to get into the other movies, but in terms of, I think there's a message here for the Oscars that I'm seeing, being that Todd Fields hasn't directed a movie in 16 years, and it makes me think of Ki Hai Kwan and how he's been away from movies for so long, and I think we're all so excited that little kid from Indy came back and he's nominated. Like, I know you're probably going to do a video about that, but one of the themes I feel like for the Oscars is that it is never too late to come back. Because I looked at this movie and I was like, wait, who directed it again? And I was like, Todd Field, I haven't heard from him in a minute in terms of directing. Like, I would have expected something like this from someone who I saw at the Oscars last year. 16 years
True.
is a long time
Long
between
time.
projects.
Right.
And like Ki Hai Kwan and Michelle Yeoh finally being, she's another person who I feel like the Academy that I feel, and I'm not going to go into it because I know you're going to talk about it in other videos, but real quick, I kind of feel like with Angela Bassett, like she deserved an Oscar years ago. You guys are so late. And that's how I feel about Todd Fields is that I'm so glad you're back. And I'm so glad that you didn't allow a gap of time to keep you from being bold and going to Kate Blanchett and sending her the screenplay and going, you're the only person I can see for this. Because this is such a testament to, if that's where you are in life, where you feel like it's too late, or you used to do that years ago, but I could never get back to that. There's so many new kids and new stuff. Todd Field could have easily said, I'm old now. I mean, there's so many new kids making Oscar-worthy movies on their iPhone. I'm not going to come back.
Okay.
It's about triumph. He triumphed. This is such a big undertaking. This film is so difficult. I'm glad that Focus backed him in this. Focus, the production company in the studio, because this is a very cerebral, slow burn of a film. It's so deep. It's a very thoughtful film, which means it's not a box office hit. Okay,
True.
this isn't Kate Blanchett in Thor. This is Kate Blanchett in Ta, if
Yes.
you will. You know, and so to get people behind this, but also for Kate Blanchett, she's a freaking goat, man. She's a
Yeah.
goat. If anyone who hasn't seen this, I beg you, give it a chance. And when you watch the movie, don't wait for dialogue. Please watch what she's doing with her body
Yeah.
language.
You can't blink.
Watch her thinking, listening to someone. As an actor, how she listens to someone, and watch how you can see on her face that she's literally thinking, okay, I see what you're saying, but how can I twist this so that I have the power in this situation?
Yeah.
Watch the haunting of it all. I encourage people to give this movie a chance. And if you're at a place in your life where you feel like it's too late, be inspired by Todd Field. This is a triumph of a film. Any award that it gets, I honestly believe that it deserves. And I'm really glad that he made a film that touches on the dynamic of abusing power and the truth of how the people who are getting the paychecks from these abusers are the ones who have the power to stop it. And I
Yes,
hope
ma'am.
this speaks to a lot of people, and it spoke to me, and I love this movie.
I'm going to echo everything you said. I don't think I loved it as much as you, but I still really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. So I'll still echo everything you said. Earlier, you said that this should win. This is Best Lead Actress. We got Kate Blanchett as Tar. At the time of this recording, I have not seen these three films. I have seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. I will say that yes, Kate Blanchett's performance was better than Michelle Yeoh, in my opinion. Even though Michelle Yeoh was great in this, I still would give it to Kate Blanchett. I haven't seen these, but I will say this, Kimberly, there is one name that should have been up here, and that is Danielle Deadweiler for Till.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
110% agree with you on that.
As
Absolutely.
great as Kate Blanchett was in this film, as Tar with her performance, and I'm gonna make myself big. Kate Blanchett, you did do a great job. You did. You acted your butt off in this performance. Still, it doesn't hold a
No,
candle to Miss Danielle Deadweiler.
that phenomenal woman should be on that list, and that's another reason why I think as moviegoers, it's important to support films, because when it comes to the accolades, many times the decision makers will fall short.
Yeah,
And I would go as far to say a lot of the things you saw in Tar go on with the decision makers of a lot of these awards.
yeah.
So don't be too discouraged because not everything that's happening is above board. But I will say that Kate deserves the nomination, and there are some names that should be on the list that are not.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, that is going to wrap it up today, guys, for our spoiler-filled review for this Oscar-nominated film, Tar, starring Miss Kate Blanchett, directed by Mr. Todd Field. Again, this was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing. Let us know in the comment section what you thought about the film, all the nominations, our commentary, and all of that good stuff. Again, this is one of many films that I will be reviewing on my channel for the Oscars. And so, if you want my thoughts on pretty much everything that was nominated, subscribe to my channel. You will not regret it. If you do decide to subscribe, not only, like I said, when you get all these Oscar nominated films, my opinion on it, you will get movie reviews, regular movie reviews, get some interviews, some spoiler reviews, some series reviews, a weekly movie news roundup show, trailer reactions, and all types of good stuff out there. We have a ton of fun over here. Miss Kimberly, again, thank you so much for being here, ma'am. I love it. You're always a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime you want. All you got to do is send your boy a text or a DM, and you got the invited link. But what you got going on in your world? Is there anything that you want to promote to all the good people out there?
Well, thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I actually I can finally start talking about it. But the podcast is coming, you guys. I have a new podcast coming called "The Film That Made Me." Dot dot dot.
Love it.
And if you have ever experienced something in your life or know of someone who saw a film and made a drastic decision in their life from an inspiration from a movie, please reach out to me. You can DM me, send me an email, go to my page, because I will be talking to people who have made drastic changes and drastic decisions in their life based on inspiration from a movie. Maybe you changed your college major, maybe you adopted a baby, maybe you
Mm,
finally got a passport and decided to go to Paris or to Africa. You did something extraordinary with your life based on inspiration from a movie. So please reach out to me if that's you, or if you know anyone, you're like, oh my God, my neighbor. Like, let me know, put me in contact with them. That's the podcast I'm working on. I'm so excited about it. I'm so thrilled about it because connecting through life and film is a huge passion of mine, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. So that's my. You can catch me on Instagram, send me a message. But Brandon, thank you so much. It's been a minute. I miss you,
yeah.
dude. I miss everybody, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate you working with my brain.
Of course, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But guys, again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that I'm B. Avery. That's Kim, and that's just our opinion. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.